Conger fam, what's going on? Welcome back to another YouTube talk with Coach Shine Palms, myself, and Coach Jared. We got a fun one for you guys today. We're going to be talking about, from a competitive standpoint as an athlete, should you be focusing on building strength versus muscular endurance? We'll kind of break this down into two different types of athletes and how you should be approaching training through our lens. And I think this could be really helpful for you guys. Jared, my man, what's happening, bro? I don't want to do too much BS talk, but I feel like I feel
No.
obligated to, because I feel like people are always talking about something. But maybe we'll cut the BS talk and talk about what's happening in CrossFit right now. Cool things happening in Masters. We got a competition this weekend. Is it Masters Fitness Collective? Is that the one? Or Fitness
Yeah, that's
Championship?
it. Yep.
Collective. Sorry, I hate how they're both MFC. It's just super confusing. Super
I agree.
confusing. Not great branding by whoever was the second to come. But regardless, yeah, that's pretty cool. You have an athlete out there?
Yeah, one of our coaches is out there. I'm not even sure what day it starts, whether it starts today or tomorrow, but yeah, she's been there a couple times. And so this is another trip to see how she fares.
That's awesome. I'm looking at our Instagram right now for Conquer. We got four competitors out there. We got Danny, we got Mike Rosa, we got Pete Brown, and we got Sean Roman.
Mhm.
So we got four athletes representing out there. Good luck to them. They're competing tomorrow and the next day. Mike's my athlete. Danny is with Jay. I know that. Is Sean with you, or is Sean with okay, I imagine that Sean and Pete are probably both with Ryan, but I could be wrong. I know
Mhm.
Ryan's usually got the Masters guys. So good luck to all of them. Hope they crush it out there. Did you take a look at any of the workouts?
I did, but I can't recall any of them off the top of my head. No.
Yeah, there's some pretty good workouts. I like them a lot actually. Pretty solid ones. The RX division kind of got a little screwed in my opinion with some of the movements. Like they scale the ring muscle up to toe to ring, which I thought was kind of a little like 35, 39 division RX can probably do ring muscle ups in my opinion at a
Hmm.
high level comp. So toes to ring, I thought that was kind of a little whack. But other than that, overall, I thought they did a very good job, and I'm interested to see how the athletes just kind of what their feedback is on the comp.
Hmm. They've been around for a while, though, MFC, right?
Yeah, definitely. I know Mike competed there last year. I believe he took first place in his division. So I know at least that a couple years now for sure.
Mhm.
Um, and then also what's going on is we got the TFX. I believe that's what it is. The Texas I should be way better than this. Sorry for all of you listening. The competition that takes place in Texas every year, the fittest experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm bad with the abbreviations, but I know the competition at least. The
Mhm.
qualifiers just got released today. The first workout's a good one. It's an ascending ladder of snatches at 185, 125. So it's a ladder, one, two, three, four, etc. in 5 minutes. After every round, you have to do 8 lateral burpees over the barbell. That's the first workout. I like that one. Cool little test of a moderately heavy bar. And then workout 2 is an AMRAP of 20 minutes. It's another ladder of double unders. So double unders go up by 10 each round. And it's 15 and 11 calories on the row, 15 wall balls, and then double unders. So 15, 15, 10, 15, 15, 20. And you do that for 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Cool workout, nice long grind. And then workout 3 is like a sick workout. It's like a twist on an old open workout. It's like a 3 minute window to do thrusters, dumbbell thrusters, and toes to bar. And then another 3 minute window starts of thrusters and pull ups. Then another 3 minute window of thrusters and chest to bar. And then it finishes with another 3 minute window of thrusters and bar muscle ups. Like that's a good workout. That's a
That's a lot.
really, really good workout. So those are the first ones. Those are due on Tuesday. I have my athlete coach Kay, Kristen, doing those. I'm excited for her. I know she's going to crush them. So yeah, and then I think there's another weekend of qualifiers for them too. So that's a cool one. For those who are out there who are like on that RX, not RX, I should say like bubble semi, but not quite semi yet. but like definitely great competitors. I think this is a competition that a lot of you guys should be doing. I mean, it's up there with the Wadapaloozas. Like you know, with only so many opportunities to compete in a year, if your season isn't about semifinals, if you haven't heard of this one or tried it before, it's one that I would highly recommend. Um, so just some to throw out there.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're going to be talking about strength versus muscular endurance, what your training should be focused on. So two different types of athletes and should be approaching, training differently depending upon who they are. Obviously, I think at least it's obvious, the stronger athletes need to spend less time working on strength and more time working on muscular endurance. But the athletes who lack strength need to focus on building strength before they build muscular endurance. Jared, can you explain to the people why it's important to build strength before you build muscular endurance?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think intuitively most people can't understand that concept. So, if we use something like a clean and jerk, and right now you have like let's say a 275 clean and jerk for a guy, which is what, about 185 for a girl. Let's say hypothetically with a guy. A lot of the weights that you see in competition, you're going to see 225, you're going to see 275. You might even see like a little intermediate, and you're definitely going to see heavier than that. But the fact is, if you don't have enough strength to be able to handle that 275, if that's your 1 rep max, then the chance of you cycling anything, even at 225, which is basically what, about 80% of your max for a lot of reps, is very unlikely. There are definitely outliers who can do like the high percentage, close to the 1 rep max for multiple reps, but I would say the majority of people can't do that. So it's just a matter of building an excess amount of strength before you even focus on those things. Just like if I want to run a marathon, I don't just go run 5 miles and then hope I can run 26. I'm going to run 50, 60, 100 miles. That way, when it comes time for that 26 miles, it doesn't feel like anything. And I know I can start to up my intensity in that particular avenue.
Exactly. So from just like kind of piggybacking what you said, just to explain to the people, it seems as if strength sets up more potential for endurance. The
Mm-hmm.
more you have, the more chance or ability you have to express endurance really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you set the scene really well with that. So now I think we could also take that the same kind of philosophy and place it in gymnastics and use a movement that does come down to a lot of strength, like a strict handstand push-up. For the athlete who is stuck at like 3 or 4 strict handstand push-ups who wants to increase the amount of that they can do, where would you start with them? Would you go with the strength route or would you go with like an endurance route?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I say this, I say this all the time, and I think it's somewhat of a cop out, but it is true. It depends, right? If I look at what their, I might use a measurement like their strict press. What is their strict press compared to their body weight? And if it's relatively low in comparison to what I think that people who are competitive in that same vicinity are doing, then we're going to work on maybe building some more strength. If they have plenty of strength, maybe they have a very, very strong strict press, but for every reason they're just lacking the stamina, then we're going to take more of the endurance route. So it depends on the athlete. If they're somebody who's really explosive, they tend to do well with the heavy stuff, but they just really struggle with anything that's requires a lot of stamina. So we'll definitely take the endurance route for somebody like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Of course, it does depend. I do think if I was to look at someone with 3 strict handstand push-ups, unless they're new to the movement, they're more likely to have like a strength issue. I would really much imagine. Just because like most people who like I've seen so many people walk into a CrossFit gym who have like a bodybuilding or powerlifting background, teach them how to kick up on the wall and just have them start doing strict handstand push-ups and they're just like capable of doing like 7 to 10, like
Mm-hmm.
just out of pure raw strength, right? Like that was something that I was able to do really well in CrossFit just because of like my background. Like strict handstand push-ups were never an issue. And so my viewpoint there would be like, okay, there's probably some kind of pressing strength deficiency. So let's take a look at that. And you nailed it with one of the major movements, which would be like a strict press. It's like, okay, what is your strict press relative to your body weight? And then, well, is it relative to the field, right? I think the holy, not holy grail, but like the standard is being near your body weight, which is what you said. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you want to have around a 200-pound strict press. And that's going to be able to carry over really well into that movement. And then some other movements that we could look at is like single arm dumbbell strict presses, right? Like, okay, what can you do for like 5 to 6 reps there? And is there a deficiency between the left and right arm? And then we could always, of course, look at it from like a mobility perspective. Like, is this person just like extremely uncomfortable upside down and lack, shoulder, be able to put their shoulders over, or I'm sorry, their hands over their head? But a lot of time it does come down to that strict stuff. So for the person who does lack strict strength, I think, overhead pressing strength, you talked about the strict press. I mentioned the dumbbell strict press, but like for someone who has to get stronger for these types of movements, like what kind of rep schemes are you doing to get them stronger, and what kind of movements are you using?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you asked that because I have athletes on very, very different ends of the spectrum. So for somebody who is trying to get maximally strong, and I would say this probably applies to large majority of the people, you're looking at, I don't like doing ones all the time, but I would say 3 to 5 is pretty
Yeah.
optimal for that range. Um, that being said, I do have an athlete who I've tried 3 to 5 for like weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and they just struggle. So then I've gone to the far other end where we push to like 8 to 12, and it's literally we're pushing to failure at every single rep. They're just not hitting enough failure points along the way for them to reach the amount of stimulus they need to drive them stronger. And so it's been interesting because typically the things that work in that 3 to 5 range for most people just haven't worked with that one person. So it's been just shifting gears and trying some different things in order to spike a stimulus that gets her to move in the right direction.
That's a really interesting topic that you just brought up, which kind of bleeds into a neuromuscular efficiency test, and just seeing how many reps an athlete can hit at like 90% of their 1 rep max, and seeing how well they're capable of tapping into their central nervous system. Like that's a really cool test to see what kind of rep schemes and weight athletes should be using to build strength. And because you, like you said, every athlete's different. Some athletes respond really well to 3 to 5 reps. Some need a little bit more. Some need a little bit less. You also mentioned something that you typically like to use 3 to 5 reps, and you're not so big on the 1 to 2s. Can you explain to people why that is? And I agree.
Well, yeah, I honestly I love heavy singles, and I think they certainly have a place. It's more so in like a powerlifting or maybe an Olympic lifting atmosphere. But what I think happens too often, if I program ones, people will go out of their way to get the one, even though it's not necessarily the best looking single rep that we would like to see. The goal is obviously to build strength, but we also don't want to lead into some weird compensation patterns where we do everything we can to get the bar up, or you see people struggling and they have like that one arm is like lagging behind and they press and it finishes that way. Again, just from personal experience, I think people can get a lot more from 3s and 5s because they can actually strain. That being said, it's also easier to add 5 pounds to a 3 rep than it is to add 5 pounds to a 1 rep. Like you can see progress with a lot steadier stream, which I think is great for the athlete because it gives them those wins mentally. Whereas if you just go to ones, it has some carryover to the sport, but a lot of it ends up being in like that 3 to 12 range where you need to be strong across the board.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the value for singles, like you said, in the sport of CrossFit is because their sport is all about doing 1 rep really well. So there's this idea around actually practicing what a single is. Like what is your approach to the bar? Like how does your technique look? And so they practice that 1 rep at pretty high percentages from a sport practice perspective. When you're really trying to build true strength, you probably do get a lot more out of like that 3 to 5 rep range, like you were saying. And so you could do this with all types of movements. It doesn't just have to be the barbell. I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like you can do strength work with dumbbells as well. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like you can do dumbbell bench press for sets of 5. You can do the seated dumbbell strict press for sets of 5. There's weighted pull-ups, for example, sets of 5. Like people, I think, neglect these other types of movements that have great carryover into all of these movements. So just something to tell the people about. The next person now is we're going to be talking about endurance, right? The athlete who has great strength, but their endurance isn't good. Maybe their max set is 15 strict handstand push-ups, and we look at all their strength numbers, and they're off the boards great. We have to improve that. What kind of rep schemes would you typically recommend for someone who's trying to build muscular endurance?
So I guess it would just depend on, again, the starting point. So if you allude to something like, okay, they can do 15 strict handstand push-ups right now. One thing that I've been playing with a lot recently, well, actually, when I say recently, it's probably been like 6 months to a year, is I really like doing cluster sets for stamina because I feel like that has a strong correlation to what we see in CrossFit. Point being, like, a cluster set, you do some reps, take a short break, do some reps, take a short break in a really simple term. And if you come to a strict handstand push-up workout, like .com posted one the other day, it had like 50 strict handstand push-ups in the middle. Nobody's picking up doing 50 after all the things they had before that. They're probably going to do maybe 10, take a short break, kicking back up. Can they do 10 again? Can they kick back up, do 8? So for somebody who has, like that 15 strict handstand push-up range, I like cluster sets. So if they're doing 15, let's say I want to try to get them to 20. So I'll start building their volume. So it might be 5, rest 10 seconds, 5, rest 10 seconds till they get to a total of 20. And then they'll do multiple sets there. I might only start with 2 or 3, depending on how well they can recover, if it's too hard on their shoulders, and then gradually build volume either by adding more sets, maybe adding a little more reps, or if I want them to really challenge themselves, I might even start reducing that rest a little bit, maybe from like 15 seconds to 10 seconds or something along those lines. And that's been productive for a lot of the athletes that I work with when they're trying to build stamina, like you said, in like whether it's a strict handstand push-up, a toes to bar, or even like a chest to bar type setting as well.
Yeah, I love clusters. They're one of my favorite forms of being able to build endurance. And you gave a great answer, and I want to stem off of it. So when I'm thinking about muscular endurance, I like to use 15 plus reps, right? Like that's typical. We've seen that. That's like principles of muscular endurance. And when you're doing clusters, although you're not doing 15 in a row, you're accumulating probably around 15 reps. Like the example you gave for do 5 reps, rest 10 seconds, 5 reps, rest 10 seconds, 5 reps, and then rest a long chunk and do that again, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that actually came out to 15 reps, which is funny. But yeah, that's the idea is we want to be building endurance. I think some mistakes could be actually kind of living in the middle when you're trying to push endurance of like that 8 to 15 rep scheme. Although it's great for hypertrophy and there can be good benefits there potentially, I do think that people need to spend more time in that 15 to 30 rep scheme, from my opinion, in building endurance. Cluster is a great form. I know you've talked about myo reps before, which we've touched on in a previous
Mm-hmm.
podcast, which I also think is really good. Um, and so now talk to me more um, about the athlete who needs to do endurance. Are there any other kind of like accessory movements or things of that nature that you've seen helps really well with like building overall endurance for these types of athletes?
Yeah, I think the movements are they're so dependent on what it is they're trying to work on. I will say the one thing that I've been incorporating with all my athletes when they're trying to build stamina is they never have true rest periods. And so instead of saying, hey, do 15 reps, rest 2 minutes and do it again, I want them to move, but I don't want them to move at a point that accumulates fatigue. So for example, if they're trying to do something with upper body stamina, like cool, during that rest period, you're going to go hop on the ski erg, push the damper down to 1, and I want you to cruise at just a very, very casual speed. Because I want their body to get used to being able to recover through movement as opposed to complete rest, because those things don't really ever occur in sport. So if it's lower body, it might be, hey, go hop on the bike or push it down, go easy. If it's something that's more full body, I'll hop and get on the echo bike and pedal very, very slowly, not fast, to again to get their body to recover while they're actually doing some type of movement. And again, whether that's leading to a long term improvement in what they're doing, maybe I haven't been able to track all those things and definitively and say this is going to be helpful for them. But I know at least keeps them on a tighter timeline of, hey, rest 2 minutes, where 2 minutes can turn to 2.5 minutes. You get distracted, you walk away. And so, that's something I've been incorporating. Again, whether it has a ton of validity and has been making a big difference in them, I don't know, because I don't really have like a control group where I'm saying this group is doing this and this isn't. But to me, it just makes sense intuitively to keep them active while they're trying to rest, as a mechanism to try to help them again improve their stamina with whatever movement they're working on.
No, I love that too. Something I forgot to mention about when you brought up the clusters is like how you mentioned it, but it's very sports specific in a way that it builds awareness for the athlete, right? Like if they have a set of 20 strict handstand push-ups in the workout, how should I break this up is always the question. Like I can't go unbroken. So how should I break it up? When you do clusters and do sets of 20 or 25, even 30, all the way up, however far you get them, they start to build awareness of, okay, this is the rep scheme that I know I can manage to get to 20. And I also know how long I need to rest between sets. And so that athlete awareness that's built through clusters is also great. Something else that I've been using with a lot of my athletes right now is a lot of like giant sets and supersets. So like I'll have an athlete go from strict handstand push-ups into something like kettlebell strict presses into banded overhead extensions, and like really just attacking the limiter within that movement. So if it's like their triceps in a strict handstand push-up, for example, or just let's just call it the lockout, I'm doing things that challenge the lockout from an endurance perspective. So they might go up there and do a max unbroken set minus 2 reps, immediately go into some kettlebell push presses that's once again going to challenge their lockout. And they're doing upwards of 15 repetitions and they're going very close to failure. And then from there, go into an overhead tricep extension, which once again challenges the triceps, which is also part of the lockout, and building endurance in that limitation and in those patterns, having them rest and doing that for multiple sets. And that's something that I've been working on that I've seen some really good progress already from, which is fun and cool.
Sounds a lot like those Poliquin sets, or
Poliquin.
Yeah, the 6, 12, 25 type stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of Poliquin stuff. And it works really well for females too, specifically for some reason, but females see really good results through that stuff. Poliquin's got great stuff for any of you guys who are interested in checking him out. I mean, he's a stud. So yeah, that's some stuff that I've been doing for endurance, but I really just wanted to kind of talk about this more so just to paint a picture for a lot of athletes where like in a typical blog type programming, you have to please both types of athletes. You can't just have endurance work or just strength work. But when you do go to an individualized perspective, you have the ability to really just lean towards where you need to lean. And just to like give an example, I have an athlete, Nick Bader, who has a snatch of 315 pounds and I believe a clean and jerk of, I want to say it's 400 pounds, but I could be wrong. I know he can clean 400 pounds. So I never work on strength with him, literally ever. All I do is work on endurance with him because that's all he needs to be able to do to be able to compete at the highest level of the sport. If he was following a basic blog, he would still be doing tons of strength work, maybe even accessory movements for his strength work. And the amount of time he would be wasting building that type of work would be ridiculous. The same person who like doesn't need endurance work yet because like endurance work isn't going to do anything for them because they're just simply not strong enough is also wasting their time in a blog setting where you have that type of work. And this is, I just wanted to once again paint the picture as to why individualized programming is so important if you're someone who actually takes the sport serious and really wants to see progress. Although it costs more money, right? Time is the most important thing in this world. It's the time is money. And so if you're wasting all this time and you really care about competition, like it's worth the investment. in the long run, because you're going to save so much time and it's going to make you happier. So it's just something that I really wanted to, put on display for people to understand.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's like you said, like a lot of programs have their own biases toward things that they think are important. And the same thing if you're really good at gymnastics and all they program is a heavy gymnastics stuff and you can do 30 bar muscle ups unbroken, then spending more time on that really isn't good use of your time if you can't clean and jerk 225. Like what are we doing? And I think we definitely all fall victim to doing things that we like doing. And that's the benefit of having a coach, because they're gonna have you do the things that you definitely don't want to do, but are gonna be better for you in the long run in order to help fill up those deficiencies and again make you a more well-rounded athlete moving forward.
You nailed it, bro. Honestly, that's the talk for today, guys. Strength versus endurance. What type of athlete are you? What type of work should you be doing a majority of the time? I think this painted a picture really well for you guys. Any last words from Jared?
I'm good.
All right. Well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, reach out to us. You can find us on conquerathlete.com. Until next time, we'll catch you then.